Welcome to the Small Business Safari, where I help guide you to avoid those traps, pitfalls, and dangers that lurk when navigating the wild world of small business ownership. I'll share those gold nuggets of information and invite guests to help accelerate your ascent to that mountaintop of success. It's a jungle out there, and I want to help you traverse through the levels of owning your own business that can get you bogged down and distract you from hitting your own personal and professional goals. So strap in, adventure team, and let's take a ride through the safari and get you to the mountaintop. All right, here we go, Alan.
You did it.
We're one of a kind. Got it started. How about that? That's pretty good. Guys, we got another great episode coming this way. Man, we've been doing this for 4.5 years, and we try to bring you all kinds of great ideas and great people and awesome ideas about how to run your business better. But today, we have got somebody, it's probably the most famous person we've ever had on our podcast, Alan.
We have out-punted our coverage today.
We did it.
Yep.
We absolutely did it. We've had a lot of big people in their small spheres of influence. And we like to think, well, okay.
I know you think you're kind of a big deal.
I'm kind of a big deal, Alan. Thank you. I just wondered if you were going to say it. Thank you, buddy. But one of the things that I've just always been enamored with is that people who decide they want to get into public service, and everybody sits on the sidelines and likes to take pot shots and then start opining about, well, they should do this and they should do that. And, Washington's not helping me, or, state doesn't help me. And my comeback always has been, well, have you ever gotten involved?
Have you ever thought about running?
Absolutely have not. I've actually been asked, but I've
been asked too. And I'm like, I am way too thin-skinned.
Woo!
But it was a local election, and there was somebody who had a really easy to remember name, like a really common name. And in a small town, that's just going to get votes because it's like, Bob Smith, but this person was nuts, not Bob Smith.
Okay, thank God.
Yeah, no, this person was just like a lunatic, and so like we just need somebody who people know, because I was very involved in the city at that point, and I'm like, I can't do it. I just can't do it, even at the local level.
When you start looking at why do people do this, I don't know the answer to that because I've never really been up close to somebody and asked somebody.
Well, I think we're going to find out.
All right, guys, who do we got today? We've got Brad Raffensperger. He is the Georgia Secretary of State, elected 2 times, and has decided that's not enough. He wants to run for governor. And Brad, welcome to the show. We're excited to have you on.
I can see this is going to be a lot of fun. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
Thanks for the invite, Chris.
I appreciate you. Actually, what we did is we saw Brad at a Steve Beacham party. And Steve is now the #1 person who's ever been on our podcast. I think he's been on 4 times now.
It's like the Saturday Night Live 5-timer club.
He is. He's getting there. And we saw you there, and we cornered you and said, "Listen, we got this great idea." You're like, "Sure." I know you've known Alan for a while. You haven't known me, but we appreciate you coming on. And this is exciting. And I think before we go back to the beginning and how you started this, why are you running for governor? I mean, after being in the middle of all this, why are you doing this?
Just jumping right in, aren't you?
I got to, because
You might as
why
well.
tease it? Let's go.
Okay.
All right.
I want to know.
Okay, then we'll go back.
Then we're going to go. Then we're going to stop and go back to how you started a business.
Well, I'm a Christian conservative businessman running for governor to make Georgia affordable and safe. And as we talk, this hour, we can flesh that out. But a lot of it has to do with business. And if you want to really make life affordable for folks, they need a good paying job. And that'll be my focus as governor. And then obviously you want to have safe communities and safe schools and strong public safety. And so obviously I live here in Johns Creek, and this is where we're doing this show. And it's one of the safest communities in America. And that's really important. We have good schools, safe communities. It just attracts businesses, and it's a great place to live. And that's what you really want. And that's what I want for all of Georgia. And so that's that. We can, obviously dig into some details. I'll let you go for the second question.
All right, I'm going to go back to the beginning.
Yep.
So when you were in high school, did you want to do this?
Oh no, I wanted to.
Thank God.
No,
I'm going to come up with like 12 different ways to ask him, why are you doing this?
Probably.
No.
Nuts.
This is a little upset.
But I always had an interest in having my own business. And that was really, my dad did well in the company he was at, but he was like the #2 vice president of operations. But you really don't control that company. And if you don't have great leadership, next thing you know, that company could have hit a rough spot. And then all of a sudden, here you are, 50 years old, looking at, okay, can I get a group of these guys together and we'll start another company, which is what he did. But it's one of those kind of things. I wanted to control my own destiny, but I also thought it'd be a lot of fun. And I love the challenge.
So where'd you grow up?
Really all over the place because my dad was in the construction business. So I was born in Pennsylvania, but actually only lived there 4 years. Then lived 2 years up in the Messina, New York, Cornwall, Ontario place because my dad worked on the St. Lawrence Seaway for 2 years. Then the Mohawk Power Dam in Niagara Falls, New York.
Wow.
And then he got working on a project up in Montreal. And then that's when the Canadian president of this company that was headquartered out of Philadelphia, he said, "Hey, would you like to come up to Toronto?" So we got relocated up there. We don't get a choice when you're, graduating from the fourth grade. You pile all the kids in the, this old beater car, and you're going north. And so we lived there for several years, and actually lived a little bit in Michigan, and that's why I asked about your parents and in-laws.
Yeah.
We lived there for about 6 months over in Ypsilanti, Ann Arbor, and so I took a grad course there while I was working a job. And I got those really cheap student tickets, and I'd never been to a place with 105,000 people show up at a football game. That was cool.
You went to the big house at Michigan. Yeah, I grew up 30 minutes away from there. So
and bought our first house actually in Northern Virginia, working for a specialty contractor, and I got a promotion to come down and run the Atlanta regional office in '82, and so this is where we moved to. Had one son already born, and Trish was about 7 months pregnant when she got down here. And we've never looked back. We just love Georgia.
Where'd you meet your wife?
High school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
whoa, which high school? Because you were a lot of places. Is she Canadian?
Yeah, she's Canadian.
Oh my gosh.
Really?
Yeah. And so got my engineering degree. And we actually started dating in high school, obviously. And halfway through engineering school, I asked her to marry me, and we got married. And
While you were going to engineering
I
school?
was going to engineering school. Hey, my grades went up because I didn't have all these distractions.
But she said yes.
With your distraction right now, you got a little.
He's referring to the brown.
Yes.
Our listeners know.
Oh yeah, that's right. We're drinking bourbon. He is definitely not.
He is not. He's got a bottle of water in front of him.
It's just a great 2 years. And anyway, we end up, I'm going to move back to America, and never looked back.
You got your engineering degree up in Canada.
In Ontario.
Oh yeah, whereabouts?
In London, Ontario.
Yeah.
Halfway between Toronto and Detroit.
Yeah. What's the name of that school?
Western.
Yeah, that's where they got it wrong. Got it. Ha!
We
do,
do because we talk a lot about AI on this podcast, and it was so wrong. We did a quick search on Brad.
Failed miserably.
Yeah. Said he went to Western Kentucky. He's a hilltopper. I was going to talk about all the crazy helmets they had. Said he was born in Nebraska.
Wait,
have you ever been
you're
to
bringing up all the stuff. You're bringing up all the stuff we said we weren't going to bring up. Thank you, Alan. Yeah, you're such a good co-host.
I've done projects and I've been registered as a structural engineer in Nebraska, but never been there. It's one of those kind of states. I'd probably be a nice place to go.
So don't trust AI. That's
No.
see.
Yeah, right. Well, thank you, Alan. See,
See,
All right,
I'm right and you're wrong on that.
all right,
one.
all right, fine.
So I'm going to shoot you straight today. Give you all the skinny.
All right, let's do it.
All right. So you come down to Georgia and you landed in Johns Creek right away.
No, actually lived over first house. Well, we rented a home in Duluth while they're finishing our home in Duluth, brand new home. And that's when, if you remember, in 1982, we were coming off that Jimmy Carter inflation, and interest rates, mortgage rates were 16.5%. And people sometimes say, no, they couldn't have been that high.
Right.
Yes, they were.
Right.
So we bought this house, and we had some equity from our house in Virginia, paid 73, sold it for 93, bought this one for 125. 2 years later, I told Trish I want to sell it, and we sold it for 160. And with all that money, I told her I want to buy a business, and we'll just move to a fixer-upper. I'm pretty handy, just like you are, and that's what we did. And we moved to Peachtree Corners, a little ranch, and I started working on that thing and put some new carpet in and some painting, things like that. And Tricia said, "Well, if you can find a child care center, then she could run it and have our two boys with her during the day." And I did. And we leveraged up everything we had to buy our first business.
So your first business was in childcare, but you stayed in corporate. You stayed
Yeah, I
in
kept
corporate
on
gig.
working. I was running the regional office for another
Yeah.
really, I kept, in '87 I left, but when we bought that business, and it was really January, you could say January '85, we were leveraged up, and we had enough money for probably 1.5 payrolls. And so we knew that the parents would be paying every week.
Amen, brother.
He
Know
knows
that feeling.
he knows it.
I'm good with it. I'm good with numbers. I'm an engineer, and I think by that time I had my MBA from Georgia State, had finished that, and so that's probably helped qualify me for a loan. And the guy just looked at my pack of information I got together, and he took a flyer on me. He says, "Yeah, you look like a guy's going to pay it back," because I gave him a stack about an inch tall of everything.
Yeah.
And so we took it this child care center, licensed for 133, and Tricia got it filled. It was half filled and got it filled. It went about 9 months or so, just because she did a great job. And then my job was evenings, weekends, cut the grass, cut the bushes down because it had so much deferred maintenance. And you just keep on working. Then when you get enough money, okay, get some new carpet, and just keep on doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
All while working your 9 to 5 or 8 to 5. Well,
Yeah,
I don't know if you ever worked.
absolutely.
You probably worked a little bit more than that,
Yeah,
but
you did. But when you're young and broke, you got to do what you got to do.
you got to run it.
And so you got to just do what you got to do. And so we did. And then we actually expanded and we got that up to 174 and we ended up with a waiting list there. And about 3 years later, I started my business. And so we started the specialty contracting company. And for a few years, I had a partner. And so we continued to grow that for about 6 months. And she said, it's time to sell this business because it's tough to have two businesses at the same time.
Right.
And so this is what we've done. And I'm a specialty contractor, sold the business in 2023, but we did structural design. We were engineer of record. Tallest building I did as engineer of record was, I think, 21 stories down at the beach. And we've done other stuff. Worked in 40 different states over the years, just kept on building a business. Our first manufacturing plant was in Columbus, Georgia, and started with 10,000 square feet. Then we doubled it to 20. And then we outgrew that. We bought a building that was 105,000 feet, so we had more room to grow. And then we had end up with another facility up in Forsyth County with 94,000 feet. So I understand manufacturing, understand construction. We did structural preservation, historic preservation, which is when you take an old building and make it look
Right.
so
Yeah, I
bad,
love
right?
that. Or you got to save the
And-
facade kind of a thing.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then actually structural strengthening, because sometimes someone years ago, or you have some corrosion, things like that. And then we did new structures, post-tension concrete buildings.
So, he makes it sound easy, Alan.
Yeah.
Just get together, start a daycare, sell a daycare. Yeah, start a business while your wife's probably running the business. And, and then I just start manufacturing. I'll do special. So it's just all roses, huh? You never had a problem because I've been at this for 18 years. So let me tell you what my butt feels like.
Well, yeah, every business. Running for governor, I think one of the best backgrounds you can almost have maybe is construction. Find someone that's in a cyclical business, boom, bust. And then all of a sudden, I think that they never lose sight of how tough it can be. Because we've had recessions where, no, we're not taking a paycheck right now. We have enough money saved up and we just kind of hope, 6 months, 9 months. The 2008 was really tight. But we got through that.
I don't remember that year.
Alan still has PTSD. We twitch. If you listen to this podcast, you know that right now Alan is now muted his headphones. He's not listening anymore.
Well, there's a lot of people that didn't get through the 2008, 2011 depression. It was a depression in the construction industry, real estate industry. Other folks, it was just really, really slow, and it was really tough. It was ugly. But we came out of that actually debt free, just because we really ran a tight shop during that recession. But that goes back to 2003. I talk about it in my book, Integrity Counts. We were hit with these tariffs, George W. Bush, and they hit us because they said that there's foreign strand producers selling product in the U.S. Well, the U.S. market was only supplied 50% by domestics. They just didn't have enough production capacity. So you had this foreign stuff coming in, but then you start having people come from these countries that were just basically dumping. But I had all this backlog at one price, and next thing you know, it goes up 40%. So you got to adjust real quick, and that's not fun. But we worked through that, and we got through that other recession, and then we came out. And from 12 onward, strong economy, but kept on getting growth. But President Trump's first term was really supercharged the economy. He did an awful lot to really help entrepreneurs with some of the immediate depreciation, the immediate expensing, which really helps small business owners. That's the other thing I would say. When you're a small business owner, and that's us that are really, we go to hip national bank. It's what's in your back pocket.
That's right.
Whereas when you're a publicly traded company, you're fully capitalized because you're in the public markets. So you really never have to worry about cash flow, things like that. You have to worry about your board. I know that. I had to worry about my banker. That's my board. That's the accountability measure right there. But we kept on growing our company, and we ended up we were at probably about a peak of 250 employees. That should have been production workers in the manufacturing plant, and then we had field craft workers, engineers, drafters, and then support staff like project managers, estimators. So it was really a diversified company.
That really was. That is a diversified workforce too, and so you know what it's like. And and right now we're going through something. When we're recording this about talking about our TSA disruption. Like I can't believe you guys aren't working without a paycheck. I'm like, yeah, I can, because I'll tell you what, I have never missed a payroll in 18 years, and I tell you what, if I miss payroll, I got a feeling a lot of them aren't coming back on Monday. You know what I mean?
You got it. And
No, you've told your story over and over again about how you went and collected that one check and tried to make it seem like not a big deal, and then got to the bank at 10 minutes before it closed and tried to make it seem like it wasn't that big of a deal just to get it in so you could cover payroll.
Yeah.
And that's really the life of a small business owner. It's not always going to be easy street. At some point, you work it long enough, don't give up, persevere. But I think also along the way, what you have to learn is you can't do it all yourself. You have to build a strong team. And I think you really need to have mentors. And I'm just really fortunate. I really got involved in our church with a group of men's ministry. And one of those fellows actually was in a Christian peer group, Christian business owners. And I started joining that. After coming through that 2003, 2004 challenge, my tail feathers were on fire, and I said, I never want to go back to that. And so I was looking for belts and suspenders. And I joined that group, and we had accountability. You're talking to other business owners, and they kind of check in. What are you doing here? What are you doing about there? And what about do you have any problem areas? Do you have any employees that need strengthening? Things like that. So you were never getting over your skis.
Yeah.
And Warren Buffett talks about, you can always tell who's been swimming naked when the tide goes out.
So at some point, you've got this business, it's successful, and you'd suddenly there had to have been a catalyst for you to run for local city council.
I think what it is you watch what's going on with Washington, you get really frustrated, but then you got to just sit back and say, well, yes, but you have a company to run, and it's not going to run if you aren't here. And that's really where we were. I was still an integral part of the company. But I thought, well, and that's when people started talking about running for a local office. So I ran for city council in Johns Creek, and I enjoyed it.
Just because somebody asked you, you said, I'm going to go do that.
Well, we were a new city.
That's right.
I would have been, the second generation of that, because some of the people already were ready. They started the city, and they did great things for the city. And a fellow named Dan McCabe, he was stepping out. And so I said, I'd like to run for a seat. So I did, because we still had things to do. And they're still, working on that. We're a brand new city, but you have to think, for like a million years, we never got any money north of the river. And so here we are in Fulton County. All this money's going south, but nothing's ever coming back. For what we were paying for two law enforcement officers north of the river with Fulton County, we ended up with a police force of 65 folks with the same amount of dollars. Go figure that one out. And so we ended up with top-notch police force.
I'm doing that math right now in my head, and I'm telling you, it don't compute. Does not compute. Does not compute.
Fire protection. And then you start thinking about the parks. We have so many great parks here. We have OC Park. We have Newtown Park. We have, the Autry Mill Nature Park. And so now we have this huge area along the river.
Collie Creek.
And that is just a tremendous facility, soccer fields. And it's beautiful being along the river. It's nice flat bottomland.
So you got asked to get into it, and you got into it eyes wide open, and it didn't turn you off. You said it was fun. I mean, so it wasn't, it wasn't, So what's it like to do this? Because I've heard stories about knocking on doors and, my whole night. You're doing all
knocking on doors, which is, you got to realize that you get a walk list. And the first thing you learn is, oh, how come I'm not calling on this house and this house and this house? Because they don't vote for city elections. So you have a walk list of people that actually get engaged in the city process. And so you're actually knocking on a door, and hi, I'm Brad Raffensperger. I'm running for city council. And we just kind of talk. And every once in a while, I just kind of look at it. I said, now, Now, if you're not a conservative, I'm going to frustrate the fool out of you. And so they, and I was just honest with them because I'm a conservative guy. And so there obviously were enough conservative folks, or they appreciated my honesty, that they knew that I was going to be a straight shooter, and I would make sure that we were never
So
going
your background was I went to school, I worked in engineering, and then I started a business in engineering. My wife was B2C, but I had never really been B2C. And my background was my entire life. In high school, I worked in a machine shop. Then I went and got my mechanical engineering degree, and then obviously then into masters. Then I get into corporate America, and I start this handyman business. And next thing I realized, it took me 2 months, but I went like this. I went, oh my God, I got a retail company. I have never worked with the general public. Man, they're nuts. These people are crazy. There are a lot of crazy people out here. And so you got out there not having had to deal with too many of the crazies. Well, maybe daycare is probably, boy.
Yeah.
No, we had great parents.
Yeah.
They just loved Tricia, and she really cared about the kids. And that's why we really never wanted to buy another center. She said, I'm focused on the children, and I don't really want to go that corporate route. And I know a lot of people do, so that it's tough to make, a living just with one center, just because of what you're going to net. But she really cared about the kids, and she obviously great mom, and she just has a great heart, and the
So,
parents loved her and the kids loved her.
so you get into city council. You said, hey, to your partner, I'm going to step out. I'm going to be doing this. I'm not going to be as involved.
No, I'm still just as involved. I still had
Oh.
I still had to sell. I still had to
Oh, so you went. Oh, so we went back to.
So-
I still in my business, and I'm running the daycare at night. You said, "Hey, man, I've done that before. I could do this again. No problem." And the kids are older now; they're easy. Hey, feed yourself.
I just rationalized it that city council meets twice a month. They have a work session before, and you do some preparation. You can do the preparation, after hours. And so you kind of fit it in. We all have the same amount of time every week. It's just what you want to do with it. And so, I chose to, serve people in Johns Creek. You chose to really become, Mr. Handyman, USA. And so I think you enjoy it.
I do.
Because it's your passion.
It is my passion. That actually, you're hitting right on it. That's why we do the podcast. And a lot of times, Alan and I, he's heard me say this before. People look at me and go, "Hey, you make any money off that?" I'm like, "No, not really." Why do you do it? I don't know. Why do you play golf for 4 hours, which we'll do. I said, I love hanging out with my buddy Alan. And you know what? I learn a lot of stuff, and we get to meet great people, and we got you here today. This is awesome. So you go off and do the city council thing.
Then I ran for the state house, and that was fun. And
No, you make it seem so easy, but I mean, that's a big step.
That's a big step, dude.
I mean, instead of running for reelection or mayor of Johns Creek, you're like, no, I'm going to take the step to the state house.
Yeah.
Why?
I thought I could really just contribute more to I started looking at state issues, and I just thought that'd be a lot of fun. And when I got there, it was a tough race, by the way, and I had a runoff. So I am the runoff king, in America. I've been through more runoffs than any other elected public servant ever.
Okay.
Yes, but I'm not bragging. I guess I just, I got to take 2 shots at it, So, but anyway,
You grow on people.
I grow on people, obviously. Like you,
You know what?
guys, you invited me here.
Honestly, let me say that for Brad. I'm the runoff king. You want to come get me? I'm the king. And you know what? I am bragging. So bring it on. So I helped you, Brad. I'll help you with that. I can do that for you.
But back to the serious part of life, because I'm an engineer. I have a serious side, like a lot of serious sides. But when you served in the General Assembly, you really get to meet people from all over the state, and you really look at things from a statewide perspective. City council, it's your city. This is statewide perspective. And I really was impressed with the people I met. Good people. And I found that I could work with just about anyone on either side of the aisle. Now, obviously, I'm a conservative Republican, and the Democrats didn't like all my bills, but they would still good-naturedly rib me about it. Whereas up in Washington, D.C., they would want to pull out, something, they just want to beat you over the head and go get on evening news and just pound you with it. There's just really no grace between
That's
that.
one of the things I wanted to ask you about.
Good line.
Yeah, because I have heard it from people on both sides of the aisle that at the Georgia State House, we still have civil discourse.
Right.
And they may actually go out and get a beer together after the session. And how did that start, and how do we make sure it continues, and how do we get that in Washington again?
I think a lot of it is our faith heritage. I just think that because you have grace, and I just think that helps temper people's emotions. And yet I had a bill. It was a great bill because it was my bill. And,
I'll help you with that. It's probably the best bill ever. Huh? Take that. Biggest, hugest bill. Not the Queens and Bills
and
lines.
we all think that. Well, my bill passed, but I had this lady on my left, African American lady, and she owned a funeral home with her husband. Business owners, small business owners.
Yeah.
We had some things that were related to. Now, the lady beside me, also African American, but she had been raised in foster homes. But I wasn't familiar with that. So she had some perspectives I didn't have. And so we talked about that. But when I had that bill that I was just referring to, somewhat smiling about it, she just looked at me like that. And she looked and she said, you know, I love you, Raffensperger. And then she pressed the no button. And I just kind of smiled because I knew it was going to pass because we had the votes, because we controlled that assembly. And so it didn't bother me. And so it was one of those kind of things.
I like that lady.
Yeah, you just got to work
I
with
would love
people.
that one. Yeah.
And she didn't mean to just, she wasn't there because you're supposed to, vote your conscience, vote your district. And when people do that, it comes together. And right now, the General Assembly is working on things for this year. And obviously, I think everyone in the Senate's running for statewide office. So they've got some bills that I think just look good, kind of like show ponies and not serious legislation. But at the end of the day, we'll get through that. And then next year, we'll get back to serious legislation.
All right, let's talk about going to Secretary of State. First of all, for a lot of us, what do you do?
Well, Secretary of State is probably the best constitutional officer position other than the governor. That's a pretty good one too. But when you think of Secretary of State, we handle corporation registration. Y'all, how many corporations do you have?
One.
4.
See?
You're an empire.
Wow. Oh, LLCs, right?
LLC?
Yeah.
One percenter.
So if you have corporations like we did, and so I just thought, well, what can we do to improve that process? So now you can renew your company for every, 3 years, 1, 2, or 3 years. 1 year, if you just want to pay for 1, 2, or 3. And right now, because I put that, up to 3 years, people right now, it's about almost 30% are doing the multi-year renewal process. So we gave people an option.
I do remember that.
It's just paperwork reduction. We handle professional licensing. Well, I'm a licensed, professional engineer. Really, that means civil engineer, licensed structural engineer, licensed general contractor. Now, our largest group is actually nurses. That's about almost 500,000 folks. But we have the plumbers, electricians, hairdressers, all these other things. We actually license 100
Cosmetologists, the fingernail people.
cosmetologists.
So they're licensed, but roofers aren't. Another story for a different time, Brad. Another story for a different time.
Well, and I didn't pass these licensing laws. I think we license too much, but as long as we require.
I like this guy more and more. I got my Resi GC license, but
don't you think if we require a license, then how do we expedite that? So we've got our new system. It's called Goals.
Yep.
It's up and running for all the 140 licenses, all 42 boards. And because of that, we took nurses, first time they're getting their nurse license, with the old paper-based system. We're now paperless, but with a paper-based system, it goes back to 2002. It took 48 days. We got it dropped down to 18 almost immediately. We're now down to 10 days. We have saved people 38 days.
I would tell you, as a guy who has to put his license up for renewal every 2 years, it has been the easiest the last 2 times going through. I had everything ready to go. It was all electronic, uploaded it, boom, and it was back within, I think it was, you know what? I wasn't tracking it, but I think it was back within a week, maybe even 2. It was probably, I say 2, but it's probably less than that. So you're right. I think
Chris,
that's been awesome.
I just want to let you know for the record, I did all that for you.
Thank you.
Plus the other 1,499,999 people that need a license here in Georgia.
That's
I
a lot
did
of
for
us.
everyone, but you've noticed it. And when we do that, it makes people's lives, better. And here they are. They're entrepreneurs. They have a small business and they don't want to be tied up with these things. We also handle securities and charities, and we also handle elections. But also, probably the best thing of all is that I'm actually in charge of the Georgia Boxing Commission. Oh, yes. Have a laugh over that one.
Look at Chris's eyes.
Yeah.
You want like saucers.
But when the Georgia General Assembly doesn't know where to put stuff, it ended up in our bailiwick. And I'm also the bingo commissioner. So thank you.
Hey, bingo. Now he's talking to a Catholic guy. Oh, Grandma loved bingo. I love bingo. But boxing? Are you kidding me right now?
Yeah. So I got excited when Elon Musk threw down that challenge. Do you remember that to Zuckerberg? They wanted to do cage fighting and all that. And so I thought, okay, great. Maybe I can get ringside seats. And maybe we'll get that here in Georgia. But he pulled it off, the offer off the table when he said, "Hey, I'm 20 years older than that young kid. Maybe I don't want to do that." But that said, uh, I'm messing with you a little. But I think it's really important, like securities and charities. Investigating a $140 million Ponzi scheme right now. And we're trying to get as much money back for the people that invested in that. It's not the largest one, but
So you guys have a legal arm as well?
we have, I have 22 post-certified investigators. They carry guns. And so we have, law enforcement capabilities. And we also have subpoena power.
You didn't bring those guys here today with you?
No, it didn't.
Oh, thank God.
They're on the roof.
We're safe.
Neighbor's rooftop.
Yeah.
So your Secretary of
Right
State.
down I just saw on my forehead.
Yeah, exactly.
It's on the temple.
There were three of them.
But also because
Keep yucking it up, handyman.
I think
Laugher.
I'm a business owner, but also an engineer, and we need a new election system. And I thought we need a new election system that is secure. I never liked the old system. It had no paper ballot. It's electronic. You make all your selections. It says boom, and then all of a sudden it recorded your vote. But I never got a paper ballot. And more, I wasn't alone in that. And so we need a new system. It was also aging out. And so it was implementing that. And
That had to be a big effort, right?
Yeah, I mean, so it's kind of funny how he's just casually mentioning this, but you do remember what happened in the 2020 election.
2020. Yeah, COVID.
The phone rang, and I'm imagining it was, can you find me another 11,000 votes?
Oh, I think I might have heard that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
Yeah.
bring this thing
So
up.
here we are,
Let me tell you how I would have responded. That red dot would be on my temple right now.
I mean, I can't even imagine going from just trying to serve your community and doing the right thing to all of a sudden being in the crosshairs, in the national spotlight,
well,
the bullseye.
I guess simply put, I did the right thing. My faith teaches me to do the right thing. And my dad taught me to do the right thing. And we did the right thing.
But when
And I
that
know-
call came, what did you think? I mean, you're like, well, maybe, because I know you ended up doing a huge recount.
We did a 100% recount of all the paper ballots. And fortunately in 2020, we had paper ballots for everything. So we actually did a 100% hand recount.
Right.
And then we had GBI actually, look at, many of the counties, particularly Fulton County, because they were under really, heavy scrutiny. But what was really interesting, then President Trump actually handpicked a fellow named Bobby Christine, and he was actually the U.S. Attorney of Savannah, and he handpicked him, had him come up to Atlanta, and he investigated. And I put his quote in my book because he found nothing. He saw, and even we said, we saw a lot of incompetence, but what we never saw was, ballot stuffing or, fraudulent activity. What we did see was just they didn't have their act together. And that goes back why then we had the Election Integrity Act, because we had all this information, because we had a monitor there making notes in a 350-page report. And so we finally, people don't realize this, but we never had the authority to come in and just, bust open the door, say, let me see everything, because counties run the elections. Now you actually have the ability that you can actually replace a county election director after you go through a process, but you have a process. We didn't have a process before. So we got that. We have photo ID now for absentee voting, which really shores up security. I've asked the General Assembly to give us real ID for all voting in Georgia.
I saw that.
And we need to, because right now, 99% of all people have a driver's license, which is real ID based, because we do robust citizenship check. Department of Driver Services does. But you still accept about 8 forms of other identification, because when that bill passed for photo ID, they had to put in these other things to get it passed. But that time is long gone. Now you need real ID to get on an airplane, real ID to get in a federal office building. And if you need that, shouldn't you have it to vote?
So the talking point on the other side is you're making it harder for people. And so they're, we're going back to Jim Crow and all that. I keep hearing the same talking points. We're trying to make it harder to, and we lost our all-star game, right? As a result of this.
But also in Georgia, we will give you a free ID at no cost, free, no cost, if you don't have any of those things, because you don't need a driver's license for some reason.
Right. So why did we lose our all-star game?
Well, because Stacey Abrams went ahead and am I allowed to talk? I'm getting
Please,
do
because
it.
I'm going to tell you exactly what happened on the grassroots level, because I watched it happen.
Because Stacey Abrams just started, spinning this up, and she got out there with her big narrative, and no one ever called us, from, Major League Baseball. No one ever called us from these major corporations. And if they would have called me, I would have gone to sit down face to face, bring our team in and say, what do you got? And that, well, this is actually what happened. And we never had that opportunity. It got a life of its own. Now, the sweet justice perhaps is we got the All-Star game back,
Right.
a few years later, but we have now photo ID for all forms of voting. We have accountability of the counties, and all the absentee voting has to get reported and reported 1 hour after. And that's about 75 to 80% of all the votes.
That's
Then
the
you-
biggest question. 75 to 80% of the votes don't happen the day of now.
No. And
Isn't
so
that
about
crazy?
20% happens, it's really about 17% happen on election day. So that's what you're waiting for. And so it really just established confidence in the process. And then the other thing is, we have photo ID and lines have to be shorter than 1 hour on election day.
Yeah. No, did you, when you got into the Secretary of State role, is that what you thought that was going to be? I mean, you are so obviously you're detail oriented anyway, but this is like going out there and say, hey, I want you to cut the hedge. And oh, by the way, you missed one leaf in the corner. Therefore, your elections are not valid. If you want to, you can always say something's wrong in this, but is that what you thought this was going to be when you signed up to run for Secretary of State?
Well, I think what we understood after the 2018 race is that Stacey Abrams was out there running and she only lost by 55,000 votes. Now, she never did concede, but that set that aside. It showed you how competitive Georgia was. And when a state gets very, very competitive, you got to start squeezing out any potential areas of fraud or error because it really matters when you're only got 1%. We got 55,000 votes. What about when you have 10,000 votes? You got to squeeze it as tight as you can. If you go to the bluest blue states and the reddest red states, then they get some of those states get very sloppy. And I'm really talking about the blue states because they don't, make sure that they have the clean voter list like we do. And that's why we have robust citizenship check. We're the first state to do citizenship verification. And we've now have done 3 of those, since 2021.
Just
We
be
want
a
to make sure that
no-brainer.
only American citizens are on the voter list. And some of those were put on years ago because they could use a federal form that you're not allowed to ask these questions. If you use our form, it asks these questions. And so these voter registration drives, they grab this one off because that goes back to NVRA. And we want that to be updated by the feds. But we're a state agency and the feds need to do their job. And they're doing some work on it now.
So just to refresh my memory, so it was 2018. You realized we needed to tighten up
Well,
this process.
We knew we needed a new election system, but we also banned in 2019 ballot harvesting. And we banned ballot harvesting because we realized that people could go around, potentially and pick up an absentee ballot and go through a neighborhood and say, did you get your absentee ballot? They know you've got an absentee ballot because that's a record. Campaigns get that every day. So they could actually knock on your door and actually start voter coercion. So we made it in law with the only person that can touch that ballot is a close family member. That's it. Or a health care giver. And so we wanted to ban ballot harvesting. And that's been upheld by the Supreme Court in an Arizona v. Department of Justice.
Wow.
And Arizona won, which made our law was identical to them.
Well, we're coming to the end. I want to make sure we get this out there. So you go.
Well, I mean, we got to talk about being governor.
That's where I want to get to.
I mean, you're wrapping up already.
No, I'm not wrapping up. We got 10 minutes. I want to get to the governor thing.
Okay.
So you've been in the middle of the Secretary of State. You sit there on the phone with Trump himself, sitting there going, "Hey, find me votes, whatever the hell. I don't care about all that stuff. Doesn't matter." So you've been through all of this thing. You've been through the muck, and one of the things I remember saying is that, you know what, you never want to wrestle with a pig in mud because you figure out after a while the pig kind of likes it. I mean, that's what people think about government. You've been in there. You've been wrestling. You're doing the good things. You're fighting the good fight. You can tell you're truly passionate about this stuff, just like all of us small business owners. Now you're running for governor. What are you going to do for us?
Well, I'm listening to people of Georgia, and as I travel around the state, what I'm hearing, people are worried. They're worried about the high cost of food, the high cost of health care, now gas prices, mortgage rates, or rent, all those kind of things, all those challenge points, those pain points, and they're worried. And so as I talk about them, I get excited that we have a solution. We need to create more good paying jobs. And actually, if you look at what we had for 4 years, Governor Kemp was fighting the Biden administration, and he had those headwinds. But in spite of that, he's going to go out the door as probably the most successful governor we've ever had.
Yeah,
Definitely
amen.
with the highest approval rating ever. It's amazing what he accomplished. And so now he actually has finishing up with 2 years of tailwinds behind him because, President Trump is very pro-growth. President Trump says he wants to bring manufacturing back to America. He says, all those jobs that are over in China, we need to get them back. What we want back are the good paying jobs, which is advanced manufacturing, the bioeconomy, things that Georgia actually can excel in. Our number one export is actually aerospace. Agriculture is right up there too. Yeah, what's exciting is that we have all these technologies. Right now, UGA has a new farm called Grand Farm, and it's really a test farm with advanced agricultural processes. So bringing technology into the farming community to help make them more efficient, more profitable, because they have very, very tight margins. But it's one of the things that we're working on. Then you have other research universities in the technology space. We're very strong in financial, any kind of financial area. We're just very strong. Look at Pfizer up in Alpharetta, just continue to grow and strengthen. And so we're going to continue offering that. But you're going to see advanced manufacturing, and that's going to be in robotics, just whatever, is special. But we even have the Japanese investing in a new facility for grit. And grit is actually used in the industrial process. And so you think that sounds, really down to earth with grit. But it's something that everyone needs in that process. But they're making a $600 million investment in America. My goal is to get everything here in Georgia as your next governor. That's my focus, number one. And then we need to cap property taxes. We had all that inflation from Biden. We're getting it down there. But what happened is your assessment went up when your house was 300,000 and now it's worth 500. That's a big increase. And so they say, oh, we're not going to go up, 60%. We're just going to go up 30%. 30%, really. But my wages only went about 3% a year. So I got a big delta of 20%. And that's why people are hurting. So we need to cap property taxes for everyone. And for our seniors, we need to eliminate all property taxes except essential services. I believe they want to pay, and they should pay for public safety and make sure we have strong education systems, because it's the next generation that's going to be paying those benefits for us. And then the final one was making sure that we eliminate tax on retirement benefits. We're one of 14 states that do, and I think we need to take that off and quit taxing our retirees on their retirement benefit. We do that, create great paying jobs. Now, safe communities. Governor Kemp started the $50,000 school safety grant. I say let's raise that to $100,000. And that would really be important. And make sure that the state can actually provide additional resources for training bonuses for law enforcement and also recruitment bonuses so that we can help folks with, things like that. Because if you can't retain people and you can't recruit people, then you're going to lose them to other states. Or you're going to have one city poaching to another city. And we don't want to see that happen. And then really making sure they have the best training available, because some people, started saying, well, we want the best training ever. Think about Keisha Lance Bottoms. So she said that, and then, she started she was right behind the defund the police movement. And it's been disastrous for community safety. Businesses were fleeing the state, and it was unsafe. Atlanta was literally burning. And you look at the riots we had, the Wendy's that was burnt down, and then the Atlanta Police Training Academy where they firebombed a guy's bulldozer. He lost $1 million piece of equipment. And then the job was set back for years, and it cost more money. Well, not years, set back for 9 months as they're trying to, get it together again. So that was the thing. And so we need to come alongside law enforcement with making sure they have good training, but also people need to understand it's a noble profession. We lose one officer a month in this state in law enforcement.
Wow.
And it may be even typically some months it's more than that. And so that's not a good statistic.
So how do you get more people to do that? Because they're getting paid peanuts, man, to go out there and put their life on the line. I'm out there running my business and doing my thing, and everybody goes, wow, look at you. I'm like, yeah, well, you know what? Again, could we all bite it every day? Sure. But these guys are putting their life on the line with guns. What are we doing to help them?
Well, that's why we need to come alongside, some of the cities, some of the counties are being resource stretched. Obviously, like places like Johns Creek, Cherokee County, Forsyth County, and really some of the North Fulton counties are just doing well so they can pay their officers more. And so we want to make sure we don't have these issues where some people are just not making enough, or here they are along a border county, say on the Florida-Georgia line, and they're getting paid more in Florida. We got to stop that. And you do that by getting pay up, giving them a retention bonus, things like that. So we do that. We'll have safe communities, but also we think about school. It needs to be safe, but we need to get back to the ABCs. because, I think school's been focused too much on the DEIs. And if you look at the fourth grade reading level in Georgia right now, we're in the 20s, and Mississippi is in the ninth. So right now the House is got this idea we need to move back to phonics real quick as we can, and we could actually catch Mississippi in 5 years.
God, who'd have thought we'd have been behind Mississippi?
Oh
No.
boy,
That doesn't sound very good.
that does not. I'm not telling my parents and my in-laws from Michigan
No.
because when I met my wife down here in North Carolina, we ended up in Charlotte in Georgia. My father-in-law says, "Oh my God, you're not going to stay down there, right? You guys are going to come back here because I can't have a bunch of hillbillies running around with no shoes on."
Well, bless his heart.
There
We
you
know what
go.
that means.
Watch your mom and dad. Let's go. Bless your heart.
I got a question. So you're right, and we've talked about Governor Kemp a lot on this podcast over the last 4.5 years. It's been amazing just how he handled COVID. Every time you turn around, you're hearing about $1 billion investment here and
Yep.
there. And I'm in commercial real estate. I travel the state. I see it in Savannah. I see it in Atlanta. I see it on the freeways heading out of Atlanta. I don't necessarily see it as much, and maybe I'm wrong, so correct me if I'm wrong. Macon, Columbus, Augusta. I mean, how do we get the rest of the state to celebrate and participate with this boom time that we're in?
Well, the reshoring boom is picking up steam, and like anything, it's like momentum, and it's just starting. And this is really a 15 to 20 year build out. You have to understand, we ship stuff over to China and offshore and really demanufactured America for 25 to 30 years now. And so it's going to be a process of building back up, which is a good thing. It means we can grow into it, and everyone's going to have great opportunities. It does also mean, though, we're going to have to get trades, back into high schools, real trades, good trades, where
Amen.
they can actually learn something.
Amen.
But those jobs now coming out of high school, they could be making $35 an hour, $30 an hour, things like that. It's just amazing. There's a young HVAC fellow. He's 21 years old. The article's at AJC about 2 months ago. He's making over $100,000 a year, 21 years old.
Yeah,
No student loan debt. Bought his first house 2 years ago. Now getting married. Next thing I know, they're going to, do a follow-up report about this young fella. He's 23 years old and he just got a boat, and so but he's happy and just feels so good about where he's at. And we want everyone to feel good where they're at. And you do that with a good paying job. And that changes people's lives. If you got a Sunday morning issue, go see your pastor. But I can help you Monday to Friday by helping make sure that Georgia's a great place to build a business, grow a business, and come to Georgia.
I love it. Brad Raffensperger for Governor of Georgia. But Brad, I'm not going to let you get out of here with our final 4 questions. You probably have no idea you're getting ready for this.
I
But
wasn't expecting this one.
yeah, I know, but you can do it. Here we go. These are easy. What is a book you'd recommend to our audience of people trying to start a business or try to scale their own small business?
That you didn't write.
That's right.
Jason Jennings has a great book. It's Think Big, Act Small.
Ooh, that's a good one, Alan. We have not heard that one.
Yeah. So you
How
read
about
it,
that?
but then obviously Good to Great.
Yeah, Good to Great's a good one.
It's
Jim
a great
Collins.
one.
All right. What's the favorite feature of your own home?
Pardon me?
What's the favorite feature of your own home?
The home itself, we're on 5 acres, and I love land, and I love being out among my trees. And
I thought he'd say that because I remember when we met him that night, he says, "Oh, I'm on 5 acres." I said, "In Johns Creek? Do what? Where's that at, man? I'm going to go find it."
I like peace and quiet.
That's
But
a
if
great
I'm
one.
not there, I got a new workshop, and my son's going to help me build it out. And I'll probably have to get you over there.
All
How
right.
do I do this? How do I do that? But right now I'm pretty busy because I'm running for governor.
I've heard that.
It's a big race.
And
And
you're doing it with a lot more grace, great word, than I ever would.
Oh, he's got 7 opponents, and then
Is this 7?
Yeah, and then he's got the president endorsing one. How do you get? I mean,
well, it's really four folks that actually have 5% or more.
Okay. Hey, can we go with their questions?
Yeah.
Alan, please. Everybody in the car,
sorry,
you're dying for these questions because we want to know the next one. We're going to ask customer service now. Alan, you ready?
Uh-huh.
All right. When you're out there and you're getting customer service, because we're kind of customer service
freaks.
kind of crazy about it. What's a customer service pet peeve of yours when you're out there and you're the customer?
Don't return a phone call.
Yeah.
That's chronic right now.
You know what? Not with AI.
No,
But they'll answer it wrong, Alan. How?
I mean, I'm in commercial real estate, and it is you only eat what you kill, and it's amazing how often I will not get a return phone call when I'm calling on a listing.
On a listing where I'm trying to help you make
I would
money.
like to maybe buy your property,
All right.
and they don't call back.
All right, Brad, we got the last one. This is my favorite one. I want a DIY nightmare story. You almost set your house on fire. You flooded the house. Maybe you put a couple nails through
Show
your
'em your
fingers.
fingers.
Yeah, these fingers. There's nothing wrong with a hand clamp until it gets you a little too wrong. You know what I'm saying? And then you're looking at that opening right back there. I put that up. Guess what I did when I stepped down from that opening? After slipping up the LVL beam in our own basement, I stepped right on the 2x6 that I did not clean away and stepped right through a nail. I have plenty of them, my friend. What's a DIY nightmare story of yours?
Well, I still remember I was breaking up some boards and I had them on an 8x8 and I just break them. But there was a nail that was actually sticking up, and when it came up and broke, it flapped and hit me in the forehead.
Oh.
So, oh yeah, it hurt. But it was like, oh yeah. But I've actually, there's an old board. Growing up, we lived along a river, and just in the springtime, you'd have debris along the river, and I just thought it was just grass, but stepped through a board, it came right through my shoe, right up, and boy did I, run home, because you can really feel a nail coming through your foot. So I've been there, and it hurts.
You can, Brad. You can. And then the tetanus shot doesn't feel any better, people. All right. That's what's called running your own business. We got a guy here who says, hey, I think I can help you. He is stepping out there. Let me tell you, this is not a get rich quick scheme. This is not a guy who's going to be sitting on his boat, not a guy who's going to be running around. This guy, they ain't making a lot of money, man. They're doing something because they want to make a difference in the world. And this guy is not doing it because he wants to be famous. He's not doing it because he wants to do all the fancy stuff. He's doing it because you can just tell, man, he just has a total passion for what he's doing.
Who cares?
Go get your passion. Go get your care. Go find it out, man. And I'll tell you what, you'll be successful. Keep getting up that mountain. We got to get going. Got to get out of here. Go make some money this week, and we'll see you next week on the Small Business Safari.
Cheers, everybody.